Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of the new trailer for Captain America Brave New World that played at D23 Brazil. And let's go! We got stunning new shots of Sam Wilson's suit in action in an aerial battle above the giant celestial corpse of Tiamut, as well as Harrison Ford Thaddeus Ross as Red Hulk, and a confirmation that this guy cooks. And really, we just gotta talk about the incredible trailer editing that makes this film look a lot better than the concerning rumors we've been hearing from test screenings. Let's break down everything you missed in this trailer. And the best way to support Rockstars is to grab a great holiday gift option from nerdride.shop. We got some great Brave New World inspired designs like Shield Smash, as well as our new Smash Up shirt. Get one of these, support New Rockstars, and get that special nerd in your life something for Christmas. Let's get started.
You asked for me. Here I am.
You want to help me?
Is there anything you remember?
All right, we opened with Sam Wilson meeting Isaiah Bradley after Isaiah has been taken into custody following the incident at the White House summit where a photo flash, it seems, triggers a Manchurian candidate-style brainwash effect in Isaiah and others in the vicinity to attack President Thaddeus Ross. Carl Lumbly, who returns as Isaiah in this film after playing the character with incredible weary rage in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, brings that same idiosyncratic performance back here with little twitches in his mouth and jaw in the opening seconds of the trailer. We are seeing an old man struggling to control his own muscle functions even after years of imprisonment by the US government. After he went rightfully rogue as the Black Captain America, he feels like he has never truly owned his own instrument. So what caused him to act this way? Well, it seems like it was a mixture of effects, maybe some audio effect, but also just a photo flash from this photographer. And we saw this guy in the previous trailer, specifically his green hand on the camera. This is likely Tim Blake Nelson as the leader, returning from the 2008 Incredible Hulk film, now in a more comic accurate form, meaning some distinctive green skin and probably some headgear that covers what will be an enlarged head. Though that is one visual that they are not showing us yet in any trailer footage, and I'm getting a little worried that it might be because of some MODOK-esque Uncanny Valley VFX design. But upon the camera flash here at the White House, there's an insert of this other location with a lighting apparatus that's wired up in an enclosed room. On the right in the background, you can see some personnel pages of two other men. We see more of this location later in the trailer, and it's some kind of bunker that Sam and Joaquin find with a classic crazy news clipping wall and the words "Reset Ross, Reset America." Actually, you can see that lighting device on the left side of this shot. And I think the shot of the lighting device in this part of the trailer, one of those personnel pages in the background, is that Navy captain who President Ross punches in later in the trailer. This must be the hideout of Samuel Stearns, the leader. This could be where he kidnaps and brainwashes these people and then just releases them into these sensitive areas. But I also think there might be more going on here than we think. On to the next clip.
Whatever this is, Cap, be careful.
All right, we see the north lawn of the White House with the Washington Monument visible behind it and a full moon in the sky. And yes, now this week, it's a bit interesting timing to hear an announcer introduce the President of the United States. We did just complete a presidential election last week. And yeah, this movie is coming out 3 weeks after Inauguration Day. And there are going to be all kinds of hot takes and insane connections people are going to draw. So I think we're just going to have to brace for art to reflect life a little bit. Specifically what happens when you got a president who can get away with freaking anything. Isaiah sits beside Sam and Joaquin. Joaquin is also returning from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He's now stepping into Sam's role as the new MCU Falcon, but Isaiah gets up and attacks a Secret Service agent. You can see the star badge on the agent's lapel, and then launches this poor guy into a window. Now, on the glass here, you can see a world map that surrounds President Ross, and we learned from the version of this footage shown at San Diego Comic-Con last summer that Ross called this summit to announce the discovery of a new element called Adamantium, and they found it in what they call this celestial island, which is the world's name for Tiamut's corpse in the Indian Ocean that arose from the core of the planet in the Eternals film. While President Ross says he wants to share the adamantium resource with his global allies, notably the Japanese who seem to initially discover it, it sounds like things are going to fall into an armed conflict between these nations for the valuable metal. Now, why would Japan imperialistically expand to the Indian Ocean? Well, it's because, Disney wants this movie to distribute in China and can't have China be the antagonistic rival to the United States. That's this movie. But we see Isaiah Bradley arrested by the reflection pool, which is a sadly ironic place to be brought down for a veteran like him. He tells Sam, whatever this is, Cap, be careful. And I love hearing Sam being called Cap, especially by Isaiah, the man who really should have had that nickname for decades. So why is Samuel Stearns brainwashing people to attack the president? Does he want global instability? Does he not want Ross or Ross's allies to get the adamantium? Or is this simply a matter of trying to break out this president to take some drastic measures to maybe raise the temperature and something he had already put in his blood from years in the past, to turn the guy into Red Hulk, to draw the beast out? I'll get to more of this theory a bit later in this breakdown.
What do we know?
There were 5 shooters. This was a coordinated terrorist attack, sir.
I was a wartime general. Now I'm a wartime president.
Okay, there's this wide shot of Washington, D.C., the Capitol Dome, the Washington Monument, and the Lincoln Memorial, which, yes, were architecturally designed to be in a straight line. And then a cool editing effect here. A black line drops directly down the center of the frame, dividing it into a split screen where the editing kind of shows us different but related shots. You could interpret this as kind of the president being divided between competing interests, kind of living in 2 different worlds, listening to 2 different sides of the debate. Like this line forms over President Ross as he's alone in the Oval Office with the lights turned off, looking out the window. We see the reverse side of the shot from outside the window in a shot where he's split screened with Sam later in the trailer. Meanwhile, we hear audio coming from this briefing in a situation room from Ruth Bat Saraf, played by Shira Haas. Now in the comics, Ruth Bat Saraf is the superhero Sabra. Here in this movie, she is described as a former Black Widow agent turned into a high-ranking US government official. But again, I just really appreciate the split screen editing here because we see Ruth to the right of President Ross, and at the table on the left side, it's filled with at least 5 other smiling advisors, but then with a snap, they're all gone. And it's just Ruth alone with the president as she tells President Ross that this was a coordinated terrorist attack. So from this editing, at first I'm thinking, wait, a snap? And then half the room disappears? Does it not remind you of something from MCU past? But really, I just think this shows Ruth's particular influence on the president here. And we have to wonder, how did a former Black Widow agent get that close to the president? And then we see another split screen on the left, some control officers on a US Navy vessel with screens showing aircraft in the area. And I think these 2 circles are the main part of the celestial island, Tiamut's head, and then the second circle, lower down, must be the part with his cresting hands and fingers. Then on the right of the split screen is a close-up of the back of Giancarlo Esposito's character, showing his patch reading Serpent Society, showing a skull with a snake winding through the eye holes. So Giancarlo Esposito is confirmed to play Seth Volker, aka Sidewinder, leader of the 1980s snake-themed supervillain group to Captain America, the Serpent Society, later known as Serpent Solutions. Comics writer Mark Grunwald created the Serpent Society to symbolize trade unions, or specifically the way trade unions were looked at in the 80s. And I never really understood why Mark Grunwald said that, especially since arguably the best presidents in this country have fought for the working man. But anyway, next on the left, President Ross stands before a grave with the Washington, D.C. cherry blossom behind it, and behind him is a woman who could be either Liv Tyler as Betty Ross, who we know is going to be in this movie, or Costa Roquemore as her Secret Service agent character. The grave headstone reads Moore. Now, in Marvel, there is Nate Moore, part of Kevin Feige's brain trust at Marvel Studios and the executive producer on this film. But within the universe, Moore was also the name of the communications officer played by Danny Pudi in Captain America Winter Soldier. But the cherry blossom is going to play a big role in this film, not just visually to add a splash of color to the film, as it will release in peak cherry blossom season in the DC area, but cherry blossoms were gifts from Japan to the United States in 1912. So in addition to a colorful Eastern-influenced floral backdrop reminding us of the Oracle Dome battle in Iron Man 2, it also just recalls the US-Japanese conflict of this film. The US 5th Fleet fires rockets in this skirmish with Japanese aerial forces over Celestial Island. As President Ross says, he was a wartime general, now a wartime president. Now, just a bit of background, Thaddeus Ross did fight in Vietnam, but by wartime general, I assume he's referring to his time as a general during the events of the Incredible Hulk film, the war being the war against the Hulk, and his attempt to resurrect the Super Soldier program. So Hulks have always been on the brain for this guy. Now, we've given lots of speculation that this film could be partly adapting the World War Hulk's storyline, but I want to make something clear. There are actually 2 different Marvel storylines that often get mixed up here. There's World War Hulk, that's the 2007 storyline in which Hulk returns to Earth after being tricked into leaving the planet by the Illuminati and gets violent revenge on the Marvel heroes. World War Hulks is the longer storyline from 2010 that involves Hulk and Red Hulk, the hulked out heroes, and the intelligentsia, which includes the leader. So World War Hulks, with Ross becoming Red Hulk in this movie, seems to be the direction that they are going in. All right, on to the next clip.
Your inner circle's been compromised. Let me fix it.
Watch yourself. You're not Steve Rogers.
You're right. I'm not.
All right, while we see the rockets fly and separate shots of SUVs exploding, I suspect from a different Serpent Society sequence, we see Sam Wilson walking through the prison where he was talking to Isaiah, and I'm pretty sure this is the Raft. That's a superhero prison from Captain America Civil War, where half the Avengers were detained. Sam pushes past a secure vault door and shoves some Secret Service agents. Whoa, dude, did Sam take the substance? In The Falcon the Winter Soldier, Sam did not take Super Soldier Serum, but now his fearlessness, his physical posturing, is that of a guy who isn't that worried about getting laid out. I'm feeling the same when he faces Red Hulk, or maybe just Sam is out of fucks to give. There are a few different ways to take the exchange with Ross. You're not Steve Rogers, I'm not. Like, obviously Sam is just saying I'm a different Cap in all kinds of ways, but I think President Ross means the line with the implication of you're not a super soldier. All right, on to the next clip.
Wait for it.
All right, so Sam wears two different Cap suits in the trailer. The later one that he will be wearing in the final battle amidst the DC cherry blossoms has red, white, and blue wings and two detachable drones. Now, Sam's original drone as Falcon was named Red Wing after his bird in the comics. So maybe these two might continue with the trend and be like White Wing, Blue Wing. You know, I guess it'd be kind of a goofy, overly patriotic thing for him to do. But I feel like these new wings must be made out of adamantium, because how or why else would Sam upgrade from a Wakandan vibranium suit? Because the suit he wears in the other shots that seem to be from the earlier part of the movie with the white shoulders and the headgear, this is a vibranium suit made for him by the Wakandans in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the one that he ended that series with. Now we see that suit has a high altitude helmet, which must remind Sam from his time as an Air Force test pilot wearing the winged exoskeleton suit, and he uses this helmet as he speeds to the ground of this compound and uses the delayed shockwave from the landing to knock back the guards. He says,
Wait for it.
Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it.
Forgive me, but Sam Wilson is a guy who had to talk less, smile more, and had to wait his turn to barge into the room where it happens. Now, there has been some griping about the VFX of this shot. Like, why is there no impact crater or cracks when Sam lands with what must be meteorite-level momentum? Why do his helmet and wings look so weirdly fluid and just a little too animated? Why doesn't his body implode into mush? Well, for one, it kind of looks like his left angle bends in a weird way that makes me look away when watching NFL injuries like this, but really I think what we are seeing is, like it or not, the maddening MCU magic of vibranium. Remember, the Wakandans made this suit out of vibranium, and vibranium is known to be able to absorb kinetic energy and then redeploy that energy as a weaponized blast. So rather than unleash that energy into the ground to form a crater, Sam's suit just kind of absorbs it all and stores it. But that also means that the artists who worked on this were probably instructed that Sam's helmet for this shot has nanotech and has to kind of melt away, similar to the masks of T'Challa and Killmonger and Shuri in the Black Panther films. Now, when we watched Black Panther in those films and in Infinity War and Endgame, I think viewers gave it a pass because Wakandan technology needs to look sleeker and more fluid and futuristic. It's just out of the context of Wakanda, it's just not what viewers are accustomed to seeing with the military-grade hardware used by the Avengers, at least before Tony Stark adopted the Mark 50 nanotech armor in Infinity War. I don't mind the nanotech melt back that much, but I will admit there is something off about Sam wearing goggles/sunglasses under the vibranium nanotech helmet. Like, were they part of the nanotech, or was he like wearing that and then he had an additional helmet eyepiece covering it? I also don't know why he wouldn't leave the helmet on if he was facing armed guards who could immediately shoot him in the face. Like, if you got a vibranium suit, my man, leave the helmet on. I don't know, I think they need to start the movie with Sam wearing the suit and then show him upgrade to a new suit in the final act. And so this isn't gonna be the forever suit he has in the movie. In movie suit upgrades is kind of a common pattern for Marvel movies. Like, anytime Tony Stark starts the movie with an Iron Man suit, it's usually a different suit that he has at the end of the movie. This video was sponsored by Seed. Click the link in the description and use code NewRockstars25 for 25% off Seed's DS01 Daily Symbiotic. And trust me, you should click that link. Seed's DS01 Daily Symbiotic is a broad spectrum probiotic and prebiotic formulated with 24 clinically and scientifically studied strains for whole body benefits, including gut, skin, and heart health. A lot of probiotics get destroyed in your stomach acid before they make it to your colon. Seed's capsules are specifically designed to help their probiotics survive until they can get where they need to be to benefit your body. It's just 2 capsules a day and you feel the benefits almost immediately. Since starting DS01, I've been feeling less bloated, and for lack of a less gross way of putting things, my poops are perfect. Primo poops. Easier, more regular, just, you know, A+ all around. Also, my skin has been so much less dry than it used to be. clarity, and so much clearer too. I'm glowing like a pregnant woman. And get this, I'm not a pregnant woman. Try Seeds DS01 Daily Symbiotic for yourself by clicking the link in the description and using code NEWROCKSTARS25 for 25% off your purchase. Now, based on the armored truck license plate and the overhead terrain as Sam dives through the clouds, this is Austria. Maybe there's something that the Serpent Society is trying to recover from the Vienna bombing in Captain America Civil War, or maybe in the Alps from the chase scene of Moon Knight, or maybe what was left of the Stark drones that Peter Parker destroyed while his bus was driving through the Alps in Spider-Man Far From Home. Let's move on.
We're on the brink of war. I can't trust anyone.
In this section, we follow Joaquin Torres in his Falcon armor as he follows Sam out onto the deck of an American warship in the Indian Ocean, watching American and Japanese fighters dogfighting overhead. And I love the point of view and the scale of the shot. Like, we can tell there's something weird about the light in the sky here, but we don't really realize what it is until we pan to the left and we see one of Tiamut's giant marble fingers towering over us. And on the right side of the frame, a silhouette line is visible through the haze, but it's just kind of hard to make out because we're so close to it. But it must be the head of Tiamut, which would be even further in the distance from this warship. And we get another example of cool split screen trailer editing here. Before, the black line extended downward from the top, now it rises from the bottom of frame. I'm probably reading too much into it, but the top down one bisected the world into competing agendas for the US president. Now it does it on Sam's perspective. So in a way, it kind of shows us how in this movie, worldviews are just divided both for the Goliath villain, the president who looks down at the world, and for the underdog hero who has to look up at these powerful forces. This split screen gives an unambiguous conflict between President Ross and Sam Wilson as the president looks out from the window of the Oval Office and Sam looks in through another window. And I think this is the visitor room of the Raft where he's talking to Isaiah. A red colored door closes behind Sam, which with the split screen effect creates the visual of the president's Red Hulk influence bleeding into Sam's life. A warhead is dropped and barrels toward an American warship, and if you look closely at the tail of it, I'm pretty sure that it's being powered by Stark repulsor technology. Now, we should ask, with Pepper Potts being the CEO of Stark Industries, why would Pepper reverse Tony Stark's decision in the 2008 film to stop building weapons of war? Well, for one, Tony himself arguably went against that plenty of times by building things like the Iron Legion, which became Ultron, as well as the thrusters for the Project Insight helicarriers, which were of course taken over by Hydra, and the Stark drones, which were used by Mysterio and recently by the DODC. Like, we have to remember that the US government seized a lot of Stark Industries assets in Spider-Man No Way Home. But also looking closely at this thruster, it looks like a Gen 1 thruster. It doesn't look like it's working that well, so maybe there's just old Stark weaponry all over the world that it's been scooped up by different world militaries. Like, this weapon was fired at an American warship and gets intercepted by Sam and Joaquin and explodes before it hits a ship, so I think it was fired by the Japanese. And then, Joaquin's Falcon armor looks pretty damaged as he falls from the sky, looking a lot like Rhodey in the airport battle in Civil War, but the fact that this trailer cuts straight to a funeral, I think might just be a red herring similar to Rhodey in the Civil War trailer. On to the next clip.
Nothing about this feels right.
Captain America. You ever ask yourself, who's playing who?
All right, we see Joaquin and Sam in the woods pulling the Captain America shield out of a compartment in the hood of the SUV. That's some pretty interesting vehicle design. And we are back to the Reset Ross, Reset America bunker. We hear the voice of Tim Blake Nelson as Samuel Stearns recording a creepy voice recording. You ever ask yourself who's playing who? Obviously, the idea of this is to flip President Ross by turning him into Red Hulk. Would so destabilize the country because unless his cabinet evokes the 25th Amendment, assuming a quorum of cabinet positions have even been filled at this point, or the legislative branch goes through the impeachment process, which would require a majority of the US House to initially impeach or accuse, and then a 2/3 vote of the Senate to convict and remove him from his position, America would just be stuck with President Red Hulk for the remainder of his term. And hell, knowing America, they'd probably re-elect him, which would create a scenario where all the countries of the world would have to face a brave new world where if you piss off the American president, you would have to face an invulnerable nuclear threat that would radiate heat and could smash through your cities and even your most secure facilities, and then back home would just face complete legal immunity. Like, I'm telling you, this movie's gonna have a lot of people asking how crazy the American system really is and how the presidency over the years, due to various court rulings and just the erosion of democratic norms, has expanded power to basically become above the law. But looking at the shot, maybe it's just me, but this bunker and the news clipping wall and the whole phrase of Reset Ross, Reset America, doesn't it feel like the work of a hothead fanatic, someone a little unstable and not a cold calculating man behind the curtains, long game chess chess master that Samuel Stearns, the leader, seems to be? Like, if this were really Samuel Stearns' plan, why would he write it out on a wall with tape? It kind of looks like a cliche Unabomber bunker that the leader would set up for Sam to find that he could blame on some other patsy. Like, I'm wondering if Samuel Stearns' real plan isn't to give Red Hulk as a gift to warhawks on the American right, but rather to have for himself a chaos weapon that would respond only to him. A weapon that could get away with anything, allowing him to get away with anything. Like, I think that's what we're seeing in this shot as we look upward at Harrison Ford as he listens to headphones. Notice his eyes are already turning red. The framing of this shot actually looks like the iconic Stanley Kubrick shot of Jack Nicholson in The Shining as Jack is stuck in the food pantry and he's just pounding on the door going, "Wendy!" Then back at the Celestial Island battle, we see Japanese fighter jets firing these missiles toward the American fleet. These might be the same Stark warheads that we saw in the earlier shot. Sam hurls his shield to take out each of the missiles as the shield pings through them all, and then it boomerangs back to him as he uses it plus his wings to form a complete shield around himself. We are seeing all the practicing he did with the shield on the trees in the later episodes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier paying off. This looks awesome. All right, on to the next clip.
Someone's been pulling the strings on everything.
You're under arrest. I don't want a variable out there that I can't control. Captain America caught without his wings.
Okay, so it looks like Sam will spend quite a bit of this movie aligned with Ruth. Like, they are standing alongside each other here on the DC Cherry Blossom Street, and then they get detained by government forces alongside Joaquin outside this fenced-in area. Now, this soldier who arrests them, those are the eyes of Seth Rollins. Yes, there were early reports that the wrestler would play an undisclosed character, and when Giancarlo Esposito was cast as Sidewinder during the rounds of reshoots, there were some worries that Rollins might no longer be in the film, but it looks like he is still in this movie. He's just playing a character that might not be as significant as we thought. Then this shot of President Ross wearing a personalized Air Force One jacket in some kind of mobile situation room. The board reads CAP status, which in this context, and I only really know this coming from a family of Navy pilots, stands for Combat Air Patrol. Like, this is really just meant to track the aircraft patrol over an objective area to intercept and destroy hostile aircraft. STA stands for Surveillance and Target Acquisition. So I think Ross is kind of following the aerial battle around Celestial Island, but either way, it does kind of form this solid joke because Ross would also be concerned with Cap's status in this dogfight. So Ruth tries to stop a guard from opening a cell and shooting whoever's inside. I wonder if this guard might be under the leader's mind control, because whoever he kills here, it seems like kind of a heartless execution. Then Sidewinder Seth Volker says Captain America caught without his wings as he points a gun, presumably at Sam. Now, if this is the same Austria sequence, we must ask how Sam lost the vibranium wings that he dropped into that compound with. Would that vibranium have been damaged by the stronger alloy of adamantium? Then in the chaos of the White House summit, President Ross delivers an Indiana Jones style wallop based on the guy's sleeve. We see 4 stripes and a star. This is a Navy captain. So it looks like quite a few military personnel in attendance at the summit, not just the Secret Service, were intercepted and brainwashed by the leader to attack Ross. Next clip.
You like to play dress up and blindly execute the state's orders.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
What if this is a trap?
You don't even know what this is.
Since when were they red?
Whoa! Okay, so this section starts with an impressive point of view shot on Sam as he glides through that Celestial Island battle, past the hull of the American warship and past its American flag, and then he tucks in his wings to zip through the comms tower of another warship. Ruth runs up the wall of a quarter and tackles a guard while Sam and Joaquin watch from the back. Now, she is a former Black Widow agent. We are reminded of Natasha Romanoff's combat style in Iron Man 2 and Yelena Belova's combat in the Black Widow film. Then we are into the Rose Garden press conference scene where something triggers President Ross to transform into Red Hulk. Harrison Ford got some laughs acting out his raging on the stage at San Diego Comic-Con, but you could see the actor fully committing here as he looks at his hand and the red color streaks up his veins. His eyes are also red here. Then this huge red hand hits the floor of the stage and you can see fiery singes under each of his fingertips. This is a very important detail because in the comics, Red Hulk radiates heat. That's one physical advantage he has over the regular Hulk, and it makes him even more explosive and destructive the angrier he gets. Now, since Samuel Stearns, the leader, began as Bruce Banner's Mr. Blue contact in the 2008 film, and he ended up getting an accidental transfusion of Hulk blood serum that grew his head, I feel like the leader will be the source of the transfusion that President Ross receives to become Red Hulk. And I think he might already have that in him and has had that serum in him for years, but it has been dormant. Because remember, back in Captain America Civil War, Ross, when he was Secretary of State, told the Avengers that he had gotten some heart bypass surgery. I think that could have been when he received the transfusion. And Samuel Colonel Stearns might have been playing the long game with this politician ever since he was Secretary of State. We get a new look at the Red Hulk's VFX design. Actually, in another video, I broke down the whole CGI process of Hulk characters in the MCU and how the VFX artists have likely built on models that were previously built for previous generations of the Hulk and have just tweaked it with Harrison Ford specific flourishes. My favorite of these here is some fluffy gray chest hair. Now, why include this? Because they must. For nearly 50 years now, film audiences have gotten so accustomed to seeing Harrison Ford shirtless in movies. From Temple of Doom to The Fugitive to Dial of Destiny, that salt and pepper aging process has been equally evident on the chest region, and it just makes them feel real. You know, it brings them to life. While the members of the press are horrified, like notice that extra on the far left of the foreground trying to dethrone the wedding guest behind Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, but the woman who asks, since when are they red? I mean, I wouldn't call her grossed out. She seems, curious, I would say. We cut back to Red Hulk roaring in the flaming fuselage of what looks like a crashed helicopter, so I'm assuming this is from a different scene. On to the final clip.
You want me? Come and get me!
Okay, the trailer ends with Sam facing off against Red Hulk. He kickflips the shield, just like Steve Rogers did in the elevator in Captain America Winter Soldier. I will say that I wish that they put the kickflip on the other side, because just in the editing here, Sam goes from being on the right side of the frame, leftward facing, to being on the left side of the frame, rightward facing. So the left-right disorientation kind of takes me out of the kickflip a little bit, but I still love the move. And it kind of looks like some scratches are on the shield. So this might have been after Red Hulk caught the shield, slammed into the ground. Maybe he kicked it back at Sam. So Red Hulk roars, and while his eyes are red, you can detect a little fiery orange mixed in, maybe to pay homage to the Red Hulk's fiery yellow eyes in the comics. Also, it looks like the VFX artist might have taken some scans of Harrison Ford's lower row of teeth, because they are ever so slightly crooked in just the right way. Ross throws a flaming car at Sam, and Sam leaps over it in a flip to slice through the car with his wings. Now, why does Sam think he can go against a Hulk, especially a super hot Hulk? Is it the substance? No, I think the only substance in this equation is just adamantium, armor, and wings. And if Marvel is taking steps to introduce adamantium sought by the Japanese government, I feel like Wolverine and maybe even Silver Samurai Shinjin Yashida might not be too far away. Comment down below with your thoughts on this trailer. We got a busy week at New Rockstars. Tomorrow will be Jessica's breakdown of the Awesome Thunderbolts trailer. We're also gonna try to get to the What If trailer, as well as the new footage shown for Fantastic Four First Steps. And then on Saturday will be the second installment of our Harry Potter rewatch series, Chamber of Secrets. Follow me at Erik Voss, subscribe to all 3 channels in the New Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.